Think about the last time you took a quick, 10-minute break to scroll on your phone.
Oh, yeah. The famous 10-minute break.
Right. And then you look up, and an hour and 15 minutes has just completely vanished.
Just gone. And you definitely don't feel rested after that, do you?
No, not at all. You feel drained, slightly guilty, and honestly, way more tired than before you sat down. We've all been there.
Definitely. It's universally exhausting.
And today, we are going to explore the exact psychological mechanisms behind why that happens, and more importantly, how to actually stop it. So, welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here for this one.
The notes we are unpacking today come from a pretty fascinating place. They actually originated as a transcript aimed at helping people learn English.
Right, which initially sounds incredibly niche, I know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
The stated goal was literally just to help language learners stop wasting their study time.
But as you comb through this material, you quickly realize it isn't just a language learning manual at all.
Not even close.
The underlying psychology here, like the way these notes break down human behavior, habit formation, and our modern struggle with information overload is just entirely universal.
Exactly. So our mission today is to pull out those broader, highly relatable insights. We really want to show you how to use these exact tools to master your daily schedule.
And build better habits in literally any arena of your life.
Right, so you can finally conquer that suffocating feeling of having, way too much to do and nowhere near enough time to do it.
Because what makes this particular approach so compelling is that it completely abandons the traditional kind of corporate view of time management.
Oh, it really does. We are so accustomed to viewing our days mathematically. Like, we subtract 8 hours for sleep, 8 for work, and then assume the rest can just be, neatly categorized into a clean grid of productivity.
Yeah, but human psychology doesn't operate on a spreadsheet.
No, it absolutely doesn't.
Yeah.
Because the moment a crisis hits or an unexpected email arrives, that beautiful spreadsheet just shatters.
Yep, completely falls apart.
You're no longer managing a clean grid. You're just reacting to whoever's yelling the loudest.
So true. And instead of a rigid calendar, the framework we're exploring today relies on visceral, physical metaphors to help you visualize your time.
Which I love.
It's so helpful. We're going to examine time as water, as loose coins, and as a draining battery.
It really shifts the paradigm from, accounting for minutes to actually managing your cognitive energy.
Absolutely.
So let's start with that first metaphor, because before we can fix the problem of wasted time, we have to establish a baseline for what wasted actually implies.
Right. How are we defining waste here?
Well, the material we're looking at draws a very sharp distinction. It's not the traditional puritanical split where doing chores is productive and playing a video game is a waste.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
Yeah, right. It defines time by asking a much more fundamental question. Does this activity help you grow or does it help you rest?
Grow or rest.
Right. And if it achieves neither of those things, it's waste.
Wow. That is a really profound baseline shift because, we operate in a culture that consistently equates output with worth, pushing this endless grind mentality.
Yeah, the hustle culture.
Exactly. But the material introduces an immediate counter-narrative. It says, picture your daily time as water in a bottle.
Okay, water in a bottle.
You are given a finite amount of this water every morning, and if you simply unscrew the cap and pour it out onto the pavement, you cannot magically scoop it back up when you are thirsty later.
Oh, man, because it evaporates.
It's just gone. If you are spending hours on things that don't advance your goals but also don't genuinely rejuvenate you, you are just pouring your water on the floor.
Which brings us perfectly back to that 10-minute break trap I mentioned at the top of the show.
Oh, the quintessential modern trap.
The scenario outlined in these notes is so universally recognized, it physically hurts. Like, you're working, your brain feels foggy, so you tell yourself you need a short mental break.
Just a quick break.
Right. You sit on the sofa and load up one funny video, then the algorithm autoplays the next one.
Oh, the algorithm always knows.
It really does.
Yeah.
And the internal monologue kicks in. Just one more.
Just one more. The ultimate battle cry of the distracted mind.
Seriously. And before you know it, 75 minutes have evaporated. The water is all over the floor.
And the text describes the aftermath beautifully, really. It's the feeling of time slipping away like sand through your fingers.
Oh, that's such a good visual.
You open your hands and it's just falling completely out of your control.
It is. But I want to pause right here and actually offer a bit of pushback to the source material.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
So if I have been staring at spreadsheets all morning, My brain is completely fried. I sit on the couch to watch a stand-up comedy clip. Laughing is objectively good for the human body, right?
Sure, yeah.
It releases endorphins. Shouldn't that count as resting? Like, why does this specific scenario consistently leave us feeling empty and actually more fatigued?
That is the pivotal question right there. And answering it requires looking at the vast neurological gap between intentional rest and passive distraction.
Okay, break that down for me.
Well, intentional rest has boundaries. If you take a 30-minute walk or a power nap or mindfully sit down to watch exactly one episode of a specific television show, your nervous system is allowed to downshift.
Because your brain knows the parameters of the activity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It knows when it ends.
It's a closed loop.
Precisely. Passive distraction, on the other hand, falling into an infinite scroll, is a completely different mechanism. It is a low-grade neurological hijack.
A hijack, wow.
Think about it. When you are swiping through short videos, you are being hit with erratic, unpredictable spikes of dopamine.
Oh, I see.
Think about the content whiplash. You see a funny animal video, followed by like a tragic news story, followed by a high-energy cooking tutorial.
All within 45 seconds.
Right. Your brain is being forced to rapidly load and discard new cognitive schemas every 15 seconds.
Oh, that makes total sense. You are demanding that your brain constantly switch contexts.
And context switching requires immense metabolic energy. You aren't resting your cognitive load. You are actively fragmenting it.
Wow.
That is why you feel that sand-slipping sensation and why you stand up from the couch feeling so drained. Your brain was just subjected to active, unrewarding labor that was disguised as leisure.
It's the difference between floating peacefully in a pool versus being thrown around in a washing machine. Like, both involve water, but one is rest and the other is just exhausting.
That's a perfect way to frame it. The reason that 10-minute break mutated into a 75-minute washing machine cycle comes down to a deficit of intentionality.
What do you mean?
Doing things on purpose with a defined parameter rather than operating by accident.
Which perfectly introduces the next phase of this framework. Like, how do we actually stop operating by accident?
Right.
Because the proposed solution here isn't to suddenly morph into a hyper-disciplined robot who schedules every waking second. The antidote is a concept referred to as the tiny plan.
And the operative word there is very heavily weighted on tiny.
Yeah, exactly. If you're listening to this and your goal is something broad, like I want to get in shape or I want to learn Spanish, the issue isn't your ambition.
No, the ambition is great.
The issue is that the goal is simply too massive to process on a random Tuesday morning. The material uses this brilliant GPS analogy to explain why these vague aspirations inevitably fail.
Yeah, think about getting into your car. If you turn the key, pull out of your driveway, but you haven't plugged a specific destination into the navigation system, what is the inevitable result?
You burn gas driving in circles until you get frustrated and just go back home.
Exactly. Your engine needs a hyper-specific set of coordinates to actually get you somewhere.
Right. A vague goal like be more productive is driving without an address.
Right.
But a tiny plan telling yourself, I'm going to write 2 specific paragraphs of this report today, or I will learn 3 new vocabulary words.
Yeah.
That is, typing the exact street address into your day's GPS.
You remove all the cognitive friction of deciding what to do. You just follow the turn-by-turn directions.
It totally reminds me of staring at a massive mountain you've decided to hike. Like, if you stand in the parking lot and just stare at the 10,000-foot peak, your amygdala starts firing.
No, instantly. You get overwhelmed.
Yeah. You start doubting your footwear, the weather, your physical fitness. The sheer scale of the task triggers a fear response, and you decide to just stay in the car.
Which is completely natural.
But if you force yourself to only look at the first 3 steps on the dirt trail directly in front of you, the fear vanishes. Anyone can take 3 steps.
Overcoming that initial fear response, what psychologists call activation energy, is really everything.
Yeah.
There is this really compelling case study in these notes about a language learner who fell into that exact mountain trap. They committed to studying for 1 solid hour every single day.
Oof, a massive cognitive load.
Enormous. And predictably, they failed. They came home exhausted from work, and the idea of an hour of intense focus felt like a threat to their depleted brain.
So they skipped a day.
Right. And then they felt immense guilt, which made the task even more aversive, leading to more skipped days. The entire endeavor just collapsed.
So what did they do?
They changed the coordinates in their GPS. They instituted a tiny plan. They just said, I will study for exactly 10 minutes a day.
Wow. And because the barrier to entry was practically touching the floor, they actually initiated the task.
Exactly. They weren't intimidated by a 10-minute commitment.
And the fascinating part is that keeping that tiny promise to themselves replaced the guilt with a sense of pride. Like aiming drastically lower actually produced a much higher long-term yield.
Because consistency compounds, and it does so by rewiring your identity. A daily 10-minute success convinces your brain that you are a person who follows through.
That's huge.
That identity shift is infinitely more powerful than a weekly, one-hour white-knuckle effort that just leaves you exhausted.
Okay, so shrinking the goal stops the paralysis.
Yep.
That makes sense. But there is a secondary excuse my brain immediately jumps to, and I'm sure listeners are thinking the exact same thing.
Let's hear it.
I still don't have even 10 minutes to spare. My calendar is genuinely overstuffed. Like, how does a tiny plan survive contact with a day that is already booked solid?
That brings us to perhaps the most actionable concept in this entire framework, the idea of pocket time.
Right. So if we lean back into the physical metaphors, the concept asks us to visualize our daily allotment of time as a pocket full of coins.
Yes. During your day, you carry a few large coins. These are your heavy 1 or 2 hour blocks of continuous time.
Like deep work sessions or staff meetings or long commutes.
Exactly. But you also carry a massive handful of small change jingling around in your pocket.
The pocket time.
Yes, these are the 3-minute chunks, the 5-minute gaps, the random 7-minute delays.
Like waiting for the bus to arrive.
Yeah.
Or sitting in the back of a taxi.
Right. Standing in line to buy a coffee, waiting for a pot of water to boil while you stand in the kitchen.
And we really need to analyze human behavior in those specific micro moments. Like, what is the default action for almost every person when faced with a 3-minute gap?
We throw the coin directly into the trash.
Literally. We pull out our phones, open an app, and numb out for 180 seconds. We place zero value on the small change.
And we throw them away because of that activation energy we discussed earlier. We mistakenly believe that meaningful progress requires like a 30-minute warm-up period to reach a state of flow.
Oh, that is so true.
So when our brain detects only a 3-minute window, it calculates that real work is impossible and defaults to the path of least resistance.
Zero friction scrolling.
Exactly. But the math of habit formation tells a very different story.
Yeah, there's an incredible profile in the material of a busy working mother that perfectly illustrates the math.
Oh, I loved this part.
She has 2 children and a demanding full-time career. If anyone has the ultimate ironclad excuse of having 0 large coins to spend on personal development, it is her.
Absolutely.
She literally never had a single uninterrupted 1-hour block in her day.
So she stopped waiting for the large coins to magically appear, and she just started harvesting the small change.
She used 5 minutes while walking to the bus station. She used 10 minutes while eating her lunch. She grabbed 7 minutes lying in bed before she turned the lights out.
Amazing.
And over the course of a few months, those seemingly insignificant discarded coins accumulated into a massive treasure. She radically improved her skills without ever carving out a solid hour of her week.
It is the ultimate proof of concept, really. You do not need to radically clear your schedule or wake up at 4 in the morning.
Right.
You simply need to harvest the hidden, latent resources that are already scattered throughout your day.
I hear that, and the logic is sound, but I have to pose a direct challenge to the reality of executing this.
Okay, let's hear the challenge.
If we begin aggressively harvesting every single 3-minute gap in our existence, like if I'm forcing myself to review flashcards while the pasta boils and listen to an educational lecture while I wait for the elevator, doesn't that just become a recipe for severe exhaustion?
It sounds exhausting, yeah.
Aren't we just replacing passive distraction with a relentless, inescapable productivity loop?
That is a crucial warning sign, and the psychological framework we are discussing explicitly guards against that exact trap.
Oh, really? How so?
Optimizing your time is not about wringing every single drop of utility out of your day until your psyche snaps. Real optimization requires a sophisticated awareness of what drains your cognitive battery and what recharges it.
Okay.
To navigate this, the text draws a hard, bright line between 2 opposing forces, time thieves and charging the battery.
Time thieves, that's a great evocative term.
It is. A time thief is specifically defined as an entity or activity that steals your time without providing any positive neurological return. It is a strictly one-way transaction.
The ultimate example for me is getting sucked into reading a furious comment section fight between absolute strangers on a news article.
The absolute apex time thief.
Yeah.
Yes. You spend 20 minutes reading toxic, polarized arguments. Your heart rate elevates. Your brain is flooded with cortisol. You are steeped in negativity, and you gained absolutely zero value.
None. So why do we do it?
Because evolutionarily, anger and conflict signal a threat, and threats demand our attention. The platforms know this.
Of course they do.
Endless short clips operate on the exact same principle, just stealing minutes by exploiting our orienting response to novelty.
And you can't just cross your fingers and hope the thieves decide to leave you alone today. Like, you have to actively build a fortress around your intentionality. You have to lock the door.
Yes. Keep the phone physically in another room while you execute your tiny plan. Turn off non-essential notifications.
You build a fortress, yeah.
Yeah.
But to address the concern about burnout, don't you also have to fundamentally change your relationship with the work itself?
Exactly. The human brain vehemently rejects constant stress and punishment. If learning a new skill or building a habit feels like a heavy, miserable chore, your brain will flood your system with stress hormones until you eventually just shut down and quit.
Which is why there's such a heavy emphasis here on gamifying the process.
Yes, making it fun.
Finding joy in the friction. Like, if you're learning a language, sing translated lyrics in the shower. Put subtitles on a sitcom you already know by heart. Don't force yourself to read dry textbooks if it makes you miserable.
You have to associate the habit with positive affect, otherwise the brain will literally prune those synaptic connections to avoid the pain.
That's wild.
But beyond making the effort enjoyable, there is the absolute non-negotiable necessity of genuine rest. And the final metaphor the material uses is one every single listener can immediately visualize: the smartphone battery.
Oh yeah. Think about the device in your pocket. If you run heavy, power-draining applications all day long and you actively refuse to ever plug it into the wall, the result is inevitable.
The screen goes black.
The device dies and becomes a very expensive paperweight.
Your mind operates on the exact same thermodynamic reality, yet we somehow expect our brains to output high-quality focus and emotional regulation for 16 consecutive hours without ever plugging them in.
It's absurd when you put it like that.
The framework emphasizes very explicitly that true rest is not wasted time.
It is a biological requirement for the system to boot up the next day.
Exactly.
There is a highly relatable story in the notes about someone pushing through intense fatigue late at night, just trying to muscle through a project. They grind away for 2 agonizing hours at 1:0 a.m., rereading the same sentences over and over because their prefrontal cortex is essentially offline.
And the work they produce is just garbage.
Pure garbage.
We have all experienced that late-night sleepwalking state.
Right. Then they finally surrender. They go to sleep. They finally plug the battery in. The next morning, they sit down and complete the exact same amount of work beautifully with zero friction in just 30 minutes.
Because they were operating with a fully charged cognitive battery. Those 2 agonizing hours the night before, that was wasted time.
Yeah.
The 8 hours of sleep, that was an active, high-yield investment.
So if you are listening right now, take a hard, honest look at your own routine. Are you actually charging your battery with genuine, intentional rest? Or are you operating at 4% power, leaving the front door wide open for a time thief to drain whatever tiny bit of energy you have left?
It is a deeply confronting question. Are you resting, or are you just distracting yourself from how tired you really are?
So let's synthesize all of these psychological threads.
Yeah.
We've moved from the desk of a frustrated language learner to the fundamental architecture of how we actually spend the limited days of our lives.
Let's distill these concepts into a concrete action plan for the listener, because the ultimate goal here is to transition from being your own worst enemy to becoming your own internal coach.
Step 1. Choose one tiny goal. Put a hyper-specific address in your daily GPS.
Right.
If you want to write a novel, do not set out to climb the mountain today. Just promise yourself you will write 3 sentences. Lower the activation energy until it feels effortless.
Step 2. Pick a pocket of time to execute it. Stop waiting for the mythical, uninterrupted hour to magically appear on your calendar.
It's not coming.
Look for the loose change. The bus stop, the coffee line, the 5 minutes before your next Zoom meeting begins. Harvest those forgotten minutes.
Step 3. Make the process engaging. Your brain is not a machine. It responds dynamically to play and curiosity.
Absolutely.
Stop punishing yourself with rigid, miserable rules and find a way to make the friction of learning actually enjoyable. Lock the door on the time thieves so you can focus.
And step 4, which is arguably the most vital psychological pivot of the entire framework. After you complete your tiny task in your small pocket of time, you must deliberately say something kind to yourself.
Acknowledge the victory. Tell yourself, nice job, I used my time well just now.
That moment of positive reinforcement is what physically builds the habit loop in the brain. It releases the dopamine that proves to your nervous system that the effort was actually worth the energy expenditure. You protected your water, you spent your coins wisely, and you managed your battery.
It is a phenomenal toolkit for reclaiming your day from the chaos of modern life. But as we wrap up this deep dive, applying all of this logic brings up a final thought.
Okay.
Something that pushes just a bit beyond the original text. Something for you, the listener, to really mull over as you navigate the rest of your day.
Where does this lead us?
Well, imagine you actually execute this flawlessly. You successfully reclaim all this wasted time. You optimize your pocket time, you build an impenetrable fortress against your time thieves, and you completely eliminate the passive, numbing scroll.
Sounds like a dream.
It does. But what do you actually do with the profound, quiet space you have suddenly created in your life?
Oh, that is the true challenge waiting at the end of the optimization rainbow, isn't it?
Because at the very beginning of this conversation, we talked about how comforting a rigid, busy schedule is. It keeps us moving. And how terrifying it is when that illusion breaks.
Yeah.
Perhaps our constant scrolling and our embrace of passive distraction isn't just an accident of bad time management. Perhaps it's a deliberate shield.
A way to hide.
Exactly. Does finally mastering our time mean that eventually the noise stops and we are forced to sit in the stillness and actually face the quiet thoughts we were using our screens to drown out?
That is a brilliant and honestly genuinely unsettling question. We use busyness as an anesthetic. Removing it requires real courage.
If the sand finally stops slipping through your fingers, you suddenly have to look down and reckon with what is actually in your hands. It's something to think about the next time you reflexively reach for your phone to fill a 3-minute gap. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.